Good evening. Also, this meeting is being recorded. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 2nd meeting of the Central Beaverton Neighborhood Association Committee. I'm going to read a quick preamble that describes what the Central Beaverton NAC is all about, and then we'll roll into introductions. So the purpose of the Central Beaverton Neighborhood Association Committee is to act in an advisory role to the council and administration of the city of Beaverton on matters of importance to the Central Beaverton Neighborhood Association Committee or to the city, and to provide a forum for the involvement and participation for the greatest number of citizens. There are no dues or fees for NAC membership, and anyone who lives, works, owns property, or represents a nonprofit within the NAC border is a member already. The CBNAC's activities are civic and educational. Some of its goals are to bring about a maximum of exposure of ideas and plans that are formulated for Central Beaverton, such as development proposals or other land use issues, and to provide opportunities for input to the city through such avenues as the mayor, city council, city commissions, and the staff of the city of Beaverton. The city of Beaverton has a matching grant program that we utilize to fund some of our community activities. If you have an agenda item that you would like to have added to our next meeting, if you have any questions about the Neighborhood Association Committee, or you have an idea for a community event or project idea, please see me after the adjournment of the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and add my email to the chat for everyone, and I will encourage you to send me a quick email during the meeting with your name and contact information if we don't already have it, so that I can follow up with you directly. Additionally, your email will be used to send periodic updates on the NAC and any upcoming events in our neighborhood. So once we roll into introductions, let me just put my email address in here real quick in the chat. There we go. And tonight we've got, I think the question that I'm going to go with is since it's middle of summer, we got the farmers market going on, gardens are going off. What is the last piece of fruit or vegetable that you picked from a plant itself, and where did you do it? And I'll go ahead and just roll down the list so that we don't miss anybody. So starting with our board members, again, also if you're a board member, let us know who you are, and if you're an officer, what you do. So Amanda Clark.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Clark. I'm the recorder for the Central Beaverton NAC and also the Community Engagement Manager for Beaverton Civic Theater. I haven't gone picking in the last 2 years, but 2 years ago, I went picking at Hoffman Farms and came back with so many strawberries. It was the best. So I'm looking forward to making it back there again, probably next year.
Nice. Also, this is in no way a thinly veiled scheme in order to get the best places to do you pick from. Promise you that is not what's going on.
Highly recommend Hoffman Farms.
Jonathan Todd-Kourlas.
I'm Jonathan Todd-Kourlas, the board member and the Central Beaverton NAC representative for the BCCI. And the last thing I picked, I think, was some green beans in my backyard. Awesome.
Rachel Phillip.
Hey everyone, I'm a member of the board and I'm also on the sustainability subcommittee our NAC has. The last thing I picked was blueberries and blackberries from West Union Gardens, and I think that they have blueberries and blackberries all through August, and we should have raspberries soon. Definitely recommend it.
Nice, thank you. John Duggar.
Hi, John Duggar, Vice Chair. This would be this past Saturday. I went to a friend's house for a little backyard gathering, and they have an orchard in Corvallis. So we picked peaches, which are incredible at this time of year.
Nice. Kevin Teeter.
Hey, I'm Kevin Teeter. I am a board member here, and I'm the executive director of the Beaverton Downtown Association. The last things I picked were plums and apples from my backyard. They grow in plenty. They don't always grow well, but they come in full force, and the squirrels love them, and then they rot on the ground. So I picked them from the ground and from the tree.
Fantastic. All right, Mayor Beaty.
Hi, I'm no longer a member of Central Beaverton NAC. I now live in Sexton NAC. But we were just literally in our backyard. It backs to a nature reserve, and there are tons of blackberries. And we were trying to put them in a bucket, but every time we picked one, my toddler would just eat them. So we didn't come inside with any, but she had a dinner full of them.
Sounds like she may have come inside with some all over.
She did.
Know how that works. Franziska, is it Rose?
Soon to be Elliot. Yes, thanks. My name is Franziska Rose. I'm the public involvement coordinator for the city of Beaverton, and I'm also the staff liaison to the super lovely NAC. And like Mayor Beaty, I also have been picking a heck of a lot of blackberries thanks to the blackberry bushes gone wild in my neighborhood. I haven't been able to go on a single walk without being tempted. So it's my favorite fruit, and it's free, so it's great.
Fantastic. Officer Bowen.
There we go. It would be some fresh rosemary and basil from my backyard.
Nice. Fantastic. Lulú Ballesteros Jones.
I'm on the same boat as those that have apple trees and the fruit's falling off already. So I'm gonna pick it from the floor, and blackberries as well. And Lulú Ballesteros from THPRD. So I was excited about the food.
Fantastic. We've got a 410 phone number called in.
That's me, Kinsey.
Oh, hey, Kinsey.
Hi, sorry, running from one thing to the house so I can be on video. But
glad you can join us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kinsey, and I am a member of the Central Beaverton NAC. I'm also on the Sustainability Subcommittee, and I am not cool and don't have a car, so I can't go picking anywhere, but I just pick raspberries anywhere I can find them in the woods. So lots of on my walks eating raspberries.
Nice. All right, and now we're going to open this up to the attendees as well, and I'll just go down the list and call you off. Everybody's allowed to talk. You may need to unmute yourself in order to actually get sound out to the group. So, Francis Miller.
I'm harvesting from my own garden spring onions and eating them.
Delightful. Welcome back, Francis. Myra Siegel, so good to see you again.
Hello, it's good to be here and good to see you again too. I picked some blackberries from a neighbor's yard recently, and they were so much better than store-bought. Yum.
Fantastic. Rosier.
Hi, everybody. I would say that I picked rosemary out of my own front yard for roasting potatoes.
Fantastic. Aaron O'Donnell, welcome. Aaron, talking is permitted, but you may need to unmute yourself on your app or phone or computer app in order to speak. And if you choose to remain silent, that is okay as well. If you find that you want to join us, you can also put anything you like in the chat, and we'll be happy to. Oh, well, that's great. Aaron puts in the chat that he no microphone, but he picked an apple from a tree overhanging the fence. That's the best kind because it's a tree you don't have to water yourself. And finally, Brian Nagley, thank you for joining us again. And again, yeah, there you go. You may need to unmute yourself.
Hi, I just unmuted. Hi, sorry I'm late. I had difficulties with the link. Hi, everyone.
So the question for the group was just, what was the last fruit or vegetable that you picked, and where did you pick it from?
I'm assuming store-bought doesn't count.
I mean, I guess technically picked off of the counter or shelf will probably
not count.
Work.
I've got to think back. I must have been, oh gosh, strawberries, I think. As some of you know, because my introduction last time, we just came back from overseas, so we were in China. We were in China somewhere picking strawberries, but but I can't remember where.
And honestly, nobody's going to fact check this, so you can hang up.
Well, that's a good thing.
If you really needed to. So, well, thank you all for joining us this evening. And let's see, we've already done all the fun introductions and stuff, and we're just going to get right on into kind of our main agenda item for this evening. Mayor Beaty was kind enough to offer to come by the neighborhood association and have a little community question and answer session, from my understanding, and talk about her new tenure. So, with no further ado, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mayor Beaty. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I was just working out in our garage and playing outside with our kids. It's summertime, and what's super nice is that we get to do these things. And I wanted to get around to all the NAC meetings, but as you can imagine, it's been a super intense 7 months since I was sworn in. I feel like I've been the mayor for 40 years now, between COVID and wildfires and all the emergencies we've had. But I think it's starting to look up. I am out encouraging people to wear masks and get vaccinated. The city, in partnership with Nike and TBFNR, ran one of the largest public-private vaccine clinics out of Nike's world headquarters. We did close to 50,000 vaccines there. It was really important to me that we had a site right here in Washington County. Within weeks of being sworn in, working with our county administrators, I was really disappointed that we didn't have a max vaccine site. My husband on the National Guard side was one of the liaison officers that rolled out the National Guard response. So I would listen in our living room to the National Guard response and then be in these county meetings. And I'm like, man, like government just never talks to each other and we can't really seem to get things going. So Nike, since they've opened back up, that site no longer exists, but it took a lot of planning and coordination with both our police department, our CERT team. It was a great location because it didn't stop traffic, which was a really big deal. If you want logistical experts to help run things, you pick someone like Nike that are used to doing that kind of work. We started our climate action task force. We had over 100 applications for that committee, and we interviewed, I think, 40 and selected 16. And we did something a little bit different for this recruitment. We specifically targeted groups under 30. We hand dropped literature flyers asking people to apply in our two census track, so VOS and Central Beaverton, parts of it asking people to specifically apply. And we actually had quite a bit of people apply. I know staff wasn't too happy to go out on a Saturday and do it, but we've tried a lot of conventional ways to get people to join boards and commissions, and it's challenging to break through. And so the cool thing with the mayor gets to appoint them, the council is decides. We've only in 10 years had one appointment that didn't go a mayor's direction, but I think the council pretty much goes. But we've had a lot of different people interviewing. When we did the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board, we had the president of the Beaverton Education Association join me, and the president of the Black Parent Union joined me. So I've been trying to bring in different voices because a lot of times boards and committees lead to being an elected official. And so making sure that we make space for people that maybe don't look like us, young people, BIPOC community members, low income community members, making it easy to serve. We're gonna start doing stipends for some of our boards and commissions. I think COVID has showed us all how challenging it is to serve. And having it via Zoom is the only reason. I have 4 night meetings this week, and it's so much easier for my family if I could just pop in the living room for 15 minutes and talk to you guys and then go back and do some other things. With my husband being an active duty military officer, like I would be dragging my kid to these meetings, and at 7:15, I wouldn't be joining Central Beaverton NAC. I'd need to be here with her. So working at how we do things differently in government is the upside of COVID. And so we're really looking at how can we make access points easier. I mean, Officer Bowen is back there in his backyard, probably, way better to be at home doing this than, coming in, which he would have willingly done. But we can participate in government at such a higher level this way. So I'm interested also in, how we continue to do this. Maybe not every meeting is via Zoom, but I think some of them should be. I mean, some of my night meetings at Metro are 5 p.m. Like I don't look forward to having to go back downtown at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday. Like that sucks. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Big news from the city, which you guys all know from your talking points from Franziska. Hired a city manager. She's starting at the end of August. She's relocating her family here. We're really excited to have her join us. It's been a rough 6 months without a permanent leader of the city. It's really hard, and it's been hard on council. It's been hard on staff. Staff feel like, maybe they're not the most supported in this transition. The elected officials are that way. And I've put us on a lot of downtime in the last 3 to 4 weeks. One, council needs to take some good rest time so we're ready for the city manager to go. And without the permanent leader, it's hard for us to execute and do things when we don't have our champion following up on the staff side. So if you've seen council, if you follow any of our social media, a lot of us have been taking breaks, and the staff is not at all sad about that. We are a busy council with lots of ideas and lots of things coming. So I suspect the fall is going to be really busy with ARPA funding. You know, the city was awarded 16 million, and before you start telling us how we're going to spend it, which we're going to come back and ask you guys, we need to figure out how much loss. Our city did not let one person go. So we do have some losses that we have to backfill with that. And it comes over 2 years. So we get 8 million over 2 years. So the council will be meeting on August 24th to talk about high level priorities. So if you're interested in how we're going to be spending that money, that's a good meeting to come to. And additional to that, we got an additional 11 million through different ARPA streams to do like a permanent homeless shelter, to work on a mental health court. Some of those we're doing a nonprofit incubator. We're really excited about that. We want to be able to, logically, governments turn towards not-for-profits when we can't, for things we can't do, but they often don't have the business acumen to go along with it. So nonprofits are often started by well-meaning people that see a problem, but they need to be surrounded by people that know how to CFO, that know how to write business plans, that know how to do that kind of stuff. So we've gotten about $1.5 million from different funding for that project. And of course, for you guys, what's really important is we're working on the downtown loop. So we've secured about $8 million from the federal government, matched with the $9 million of BURA. That's a pretty good kick to get that going. And so I know Kevin's been involved with this, a lot of the downtown Beaverton businesses, and I would really encourage this NAC in particular to pay attention in the next couple of weeks as we start talking more and more about it. Congresswoman Bonamici and I are going to walk the loop here in a couple of weeks. She helped secure $4 million for it. And we want the president's infrastructure to pass because we're going to be able to do a couple things with that. We really want to fix the downtown train. We know how loud it is. I lived off Menlo for the last decade. I could hear it at my house. It's challenging, really expensive to fix. We can only do it if we go get other people's money. So those are the kind of things that we're working on right now. And I just wanted to mainly come and meet people that I hadn't met and give you an opportunity to ask me any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you for again for joining us. I know at least two of us are members of the, when speaking of the loop, or on the Community Advisory Council committee for that project, and it's very exciting. It's really exciting what that team has already started to do, and to know that there's the funding to back up the ideas that they're going to come to us with is really encouraging. Everybody's excited about that. I'm just going to go ahead and start open the floor for questions and comments, and we'll start with John Duggar.
Mayor, always good to see you. You know that though. Question for you. So this NAC has a history. I think you probably know this, but maybe if you don't, like we did a mask project last year where we commissioned and distributed over 2,500 reusable cotton masks back in the throes of the first COVID, right? We've always been really focused. Most of our houseless individuals are in our neighborhood in the city. Do you have any, we know the main strategy now is vaccines, right? Like we know that. Are there things we can be doing as a NAC to either aid the city's effort in stopping the spread of this really scary Delta variant, or are there things we can do to kind of help our community either get or stay healthy? Thank you.
It's such a tough question because it's become like weirdly political in an area. And I, if you don't know this about me, I was a public health director at Virginia Garcia prior to being the mayor. Prior to that, I was a medic in the Army, and I did lots of delivering vaccines in third world countries. And so it's crazy to me, having been in that role, being in some of these countries, delivering things like polio vaccine and dental care to kids that have never had it. It's become weirdly political. But I also think it's overcome through relations. So I think we're at a point right now where a lot of willing people have been vaccinated, but what do we do next? That's the golden question. I mean, the government has tried money, we've tried incentives, we've tried to do it. I wish I had a more helpful answer, because I think if it was right in front of us, it would be done. I'm at a loss. People need to hear from trusted friends and advisors is what we know in this next phase is going to be. So if you have a parent that maybe doesn't want to be vaccinated, telling a personal story about somebody that was impacted. I just had a good friend lose her mom like within a week to COVID, like from sick to death in a week, and about a month ago. And she had wanted to be vaccinated, and she's like wanted to wait a year to see what had come about it, and then got sick and died. And so I think it's a challenging position for us to be in. I would encourage you to wear your masks, encourage people around you to wear your masks. We don't want our businesses to go backwards. And we don't really have any enforcement mechanism for it. We've put a lot of it on our police department to be the people out there telling people which rules to follow. That's a challenging position for them to be in. We've not been able to figure that out. Our city hall, our city manager, which I don't make those decisions anymore in our new government structure, has made it mandatory to wear masks in the building again, masks in the library. I have a 4-year-old that's not eligible to be vaccinated. And so I've worn a mask. I've had lots of people the last couple of weeks ask me, like, why are you wearing a mask? Because I'm going to till my kid can get vaccinated. So I would have a better answer, Doug, but if you have ideas, I'd like to hear those. So.
No, I'm facing the same thing. My parents, they're in Florida, but they're more scared right now of the vaccine than of the disease, and it's because of all the misinformation and things, and it just breaks my heart, and it literally keeps me up at night. And then I look around and I see members of our community, and it's the same, and I just worry, and I wonder what we can be doing. So definitely, if you guys think of anything that we can do to partner with you, the city, if we can get word out, if we can organize, please keep us in the loop and let us know. We'll be happy to partner.
All right, we'll go Rachel, Phillip, and then Brian, and then Francis. I see your questions in the chat, and I will relay those after that. So Rachel?
Hey, thank you. It's nice to hear people talk, just related to the last thing you said. It's nice to hear people talking about like having little kids and still wearing masks. That's definitely been a big thing in our household with a 2-year-old, and we basically never went masks off just because we were concerned and like wanted to set a good example for him also. My question relates to like what the city does around preparedness for like emergencies. Like, for example, like last year we had big wildfires. I imagine we'll probably have the same like huge amounts of smoke coming in. We just had like some pretty extreme heat earlier this year. There's also like potential for earthquakes in the area. So I was curious, like at the Beaverton level, what does the city do to like support citizens in like sort of like that short-term crisis mode, as well as like any longer term things that the city might be doing?
That's a great question, and the answer is not enough. I do think it's been a council priority of mine to talk more about disaster planning on a regional level because of Cascadia. I spent a lot of my time elected on the RTPO, which is the Regional Disaster Preparedness Organization. We know we don't have enough. There's a lot of neighborhoods that have food caches and be able to do it, but the average Beavertonian can't withstand a $500 expense without going into debt or borrowing money. And so asking them to create $200 worth of safety food is not an option, like if they're living paycheck to paycheck. So we're looking at potentially with some of the ARPA money, how can we do some of that work by creating some of these backup safety nets? I mean, that's about an earthquake, but some of it is, practical realization too. In our neighborhood where Ian and I lived, he went and zip tied wrenches to everyone's gas meter and taught our neighbors how to turn off their gas. There's some practical things that you can do that most people don't think about. Like if you have an earthquake, you're not gonna be like, oh, where's my wrench? Let me dig through my stuff to find it. But if a gas starts leaking, then we have a fire issue. Bolting down your water heater is like a $12 strap that could give you 60 gallons of drinkable water. So those kind of projects, I think, are something like NACs could take up and do when we can talk about these little things. But we got a cool weather shelter opened as fast as we could at the library. We did it during the smoke too, but it's our level of government is not funded to do this kind of work. So it's really hard for us to take general fund dollars to do this kind of stuff. So we do have a full-time emergency manager. We do have one of the best, most robust CERT teams in the state. They backfilled. The reason we could do so many vaccines at the Nike clinic was because the CERT team handled traffic and handing out clipboards and wiping things off. And they just did these tasks to allow the people that could actually push the vaccine to do it. So we didn't have certified medical people wiping down clipboards in between things. So I think we've learned a lot this year. And the next task is going to be how can we take lessons learned, like an after action review of what we did in this crisis and apply it to other ones.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and back up Mayor Beaty as a member of Beaverton CERT that it's a fantastic program. It's a great way to get yourself prepared for an emergency in your family, and then it's also your neighbors kind of as a bonus. So join us in Beaverton CERT. It's fantastic. We're going to start doing online trainings soon. So Brian Negley.
Hi, just wanted to follow up on something that was mentioned, a nonprofit incubator. Would you mind just telling me what that's about, who leads it, how does it get funded, what kind of things they do, or where I can get more information?
We're in the very early stages, literally an idea that me and another city councilor have been talking about for 6 years because I come from a nonprofit background. We're out just securing funding. We're gonna have somebody working. We're likely going to partner with our for-profit technology incubator, OTBC, that the city already runs, and ask them just to branch out and do this kind of work since they're very successful at doing it. But there'll be a lot of community conversations about how we're going to do that and how we're going to do it. And we're getting funding from multiple sources. So we got some from appropriations from Senator Wyden and Congresswoman Bonamici. We got some from the state ARPA funding. And so we piece together the money, and each money comes with, there's no free money, everything comes with very specific criteria. So like the appropriation money from the federal government means that we can only spend it on space or like computers or tenant improvement. So we can't use it programmatically. With the state money, we can use it programmatically. So we're just in very early stages of it. And I'd imagine we'll have a lot more conversations over the next 6 months as we secure up the funding for it.
Thank you. Are you looking at funding from the private sector as well, just out of curiosity?
I mean, my hope would be that we hire an executive director that could do that work, to go out and do it. And so, you know, when I worked at Virginia Garcia, we had a full-time grant writer, foundation director that did that kind of work. We'd probably mirror something different to that, so we can go out and do that kind of work. And especially if it's if it makes sense in industries. A lot of not-for-profits work in the medical field that support like for-profit hospitals. So there could be some reasons why we could get private investment.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Razier, did you want to ask your little, Francis, I will be getting to you. I just, Razier had a follow-up to the nonprofit incubator. I just didn't know if you would like to put that forward.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor Beaty, for kind of bringing this up in a couple of the sessions that you've had over the last few weeks. So I run a nonprofit and I'm board president of one and with the Nonprofit Association of Oregon. And one of the things that we're watching is that it's expensive to start a nonprofit. So I'm wondering if as part of the curriculum or part of the conversations with this incubator is actually talking about fiscal sponsorships, because those are ways that it doesn't belabor the IRS to have hundreds of nonprofits all over the place that are all fighting for the same dollars per se, especially if there's a lot of mission alignment. So I'd love to keep that on your radar too.
Yeah, and we have some meetings with the Nonprofit Association of Oregon coming up to talk about some of this. And, you know, my career in nonprofit management at Virginia Garcia and other nonprofits I've worked for, that it's some of that stuff's really important. And can we bring groups together and share an CFO? Can we bring groups together to share space? And so we're looking at all of those ways to, you know, we're going to do a needs analysis of some of the nonprofits that exist here and what do they need help with? Is it grant writing? Is it space development? Is it what? And then we do know for sure we want to do a cohort model, bring people in together, kind of run them through the curriculum. So there's a lot of, you know, we're waiting for President Biden to sign the bill that 100% secures the money before we go out and start, you know, renting space and doing things.
Great. Yeah, I would definitely love to work with you in your office and Franziska if you're in that role too. Thank you.
Thank you, Razi. Francis, would you like me to read your questions, or would you like to go ahead and present them yourself?
I can present them, I guess.
Please do.
I've driven around the area a lot, and I see housing being built everywhere, Lombard and near Dairy Queen and the new high school. And I was wondering who's keeping count of how much housing we need, and or where are we in providing it or over providing it?
Well, we're definitely not over providing it. I can tell you that. We do have a 5-year housing plan that we do that. It's a state mandate for us to look at available land, who's living here. And so we do have a 5-year housing plan on the city website. You can go and look at too. We talk about, We've done in-depth analysis of what kind of housing we need, where it needs to go. And the answer is all of it and more of it everywhere. You know, we know in Washington County, we're about 14,000 doors short of affordable housing for people to move into. So some of the projects that you're seeing, like off of Murray, those happened in the private sector without the city's involvement at all. I mean, obviously we have to okay like how things are built through planning commission, but that was a building that took care of all of itself. You know, what you see, you know, we're doing a housing development in South Cooper Mountain for seniors. That had to have considerable impact from the city. We had to get engaged to do that kind of work. There's not a lot of people that come do affordable housing because it doesn't make sense financially. So we have to work with them to be able to do it. So it looks like a lot of buildings are going up. It's just we didn't build anything for a decade. And so we have a lot of building happening at one time.
Thank you. Also wonder why we are selling the building that's been used as a shelter and for the NAC meetings in past, which is near public transportation, and something, what, housing or something's going to be built there? And where's the shelter going?
It is going to be an affordable senior housing project. It's going to be our third project in our 4 metro projects that the Metro Housing Fund funded. Again, to make affordable housing work, like we have to work with space that the city owns. There's a 2% commercial vacancy rate right now in the city. There's not a lot of space. And I get emails all the time like, hey, go take this lot over by off of Lombard, just go build there. Like we as a government cannot go out and just take people's land and build wherever we want to do. It's not a thing. I wish what I've asked our city to do is communicate more about that process, because if you're driving around and you see empty lots, you're like, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing this over here? It's logical. I do it too. I just have a direct line to the CDD director to say, why are you building it here and not here? But a lot of it has to do with what we own. The city doesn't land bank. We don't own tons of land. We do own that space. And it's going to be a really great location for seniors. It's going to be close to the library, close to LC Stir, close to public transportation. We know that a lot less of them will own a vehicle, so it makes it an ideal location for that. And we've not done any planning about aging in place gracefully. We have a massive baby boomer population in our city. My mom lives in Central Beaverton in a 3-bedroom house. It doesn't make sense for her to sell it and go pay a really high apartment rate. She's got a stable mortgage where she's at. She could likely live in something smaller, but we've not done any kind of building to design for seniors to be able to go down one size. And so what I'm hoping is we can pay a lot more attention over the next couple of years to what happens to our senior population. But that is the first project that is dedicated to seniors the city's ever done. We're really excited about it. We've raised about $2.5 million of ARPA funding to create a full-time shelter. We're looking at locations right now where it's going to be located. Those two things will happen together. We're not going to not have a shelter. We're going to have a location and we're going to build it. We don't know where it is yet. We're siting out different locations.
Good, thank you. The other question I have is, did Pride weekend ever happen? I know there was a heat wave at that point, but I thought we were involved with vendors and parade, and then I didn't see anything in the city newsletter and nothing in the Pamplin newspaper on Thursday. So didn't know whether they still had it and I missed it or what.
They did have it. It was a much smaller version of it, but it wasn't a city event. So the Pride has their own board of directors and how they operate. So they did have it. John's on the board, not to throw you under, here, but they did have it. They had a smaller down. They did really hard to communicate, but we have an issue where we tend to communicate through the same forum. So we as a community have to think about how we get our message out differently to people, because it was there. It was really hot. I went with my mom and kid and we lasted maybe 20 minutes. So, but I think given the heat, given everything, it was a really great event.
Sorry to miss it. Thank you so much.
It was, and I'm sure John will could regale us with more tales of it, perhaps after we let cede the mayor's time back to her. If you've got time for one more question, I know that Kevin had something to ask as well.
I'm sure it's something tough that Kevin's going to nail me on in public. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Beaty. So John mentioned something at the beginning about how this NAC was able to help provide masks and do something really practical during the pandemic and fill in ways that maybe it's hard for our larger city government to fill. And my train of thought kind of goes along that direction too. We talk a lot about trees and tree preservation, but also tree planting in this NAC in particular. It feels like it comes up every time there's a development proposal. Now, I think most of us realize that there is going to be a loss of trees with most development projects. That's just what happens when you build bigger buildings. But we want to be able to be a partner in the planting of newer trees. Maybe that's doing something kind of grassroots style where like we can help residents get free or cheap saplings from the city and plant them in their yard so that they can grow their own trees and increase our tree canopy there. Just because our tree coverage in downtown in particular is pretty lacking. And I think this NAC can be a big source of support for that in regards to climate change and preservation, environmentalism, all that stuff.
Well, tree preservation is a top priority of mine. We're stuck on a loop on our city council right now about getting meaningful first step done. I'm hoping with the Climate Action Committee, this will emerge as a top priority for them as well, because we are losing our tree canopy at a really high rate. And we don't have strong development code language that says if you cut down a tree, then you need to do this and you need to plant all these other ones. You know, my mom lives off of Algier. She just had a plant. I'll have to get the information. I'll email it to you, Kevin, and get it out to them. But they came and planted a sapling in her yard for like $20. And they drove by and they're like, hey, we noticed like, you know, you don't have a lot of trees in your front yard. Here's a way to do it. And so let me get their information to you guys. So maybe there's a great partnership. I mean, I think they literally were driving around neighborhoods just saying, hey, come get your tree planted here. But it was really cost efficient. My mom was like, yeah, that's really great. You're going to bring it here and plant it for like $15 or $20. Like you can't beat that. So I can see that. Let me get that information for you. But, you know, we are a Tree City USA. And I say that a little bit tongue in cheek because we've not done a great job of planting. We've planted quite a few trees, but there's definitely some room to grow.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, I'm on planning commission, and in a couple weeks we're talking about a tree code audit for the city. That doesn't mean the tree code is going to be changed immediately. There's a lot of work that goes into that. But if you got thoughts on that process and any of tree code stuff, feel free to chime in with your elected officials or with planning commission. That's coming up.
One more on that. For the fountain, you guys have all seen the fence around the fountain. We only lost one tree in that whole development, and they relocated another one. I went and toured it last week, and they mentioned it to me at least 11 times because they knew how important it was to me, and then was like, Mayor, pick out which tree it is that we moved and like saved. And they're like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. I'm like, all right, there's like 100 trees. Just tell me which one it is. So maybe we'll make a game on find the tree that the development saved and relocated. So.
Well, fantastic. Rachel, I know you had another question about the loop and the train. I don't know if that's something that the mayor has time to do, or if we should just wait for the next loop. We're going to get a big information dump, I think, next month from Dan. So, but the floor is yours, Rachel.
Yeah, because you had just mentioned like possibly moving the train if we can get funding. I was just curious what that solution looks like, because that's not something I've heard anything about, and that would be amazing. And I would love to not hear it anymore.
Move the train. But we
gotcha.
Something called a quiet zone project. So the reason why it's so loud and the reason why the train has to blow is because the intersections aren't very safe. And working with the rail administration is really challenging. It's like $8 to $10 million to fix 2 or 3 intersections. And so what we have to do is invest in different kind of arm, making sure that it's really well lit, making sure that way the train can come through and not any way for passengers to veer onto the track. So we haven't done any of that work, which is why they blow the horn so much as we go. And as we prioritize building up and building more density in central Beaverton, it's becoming quite a livability problem. Where before it wasn't so bad because we didn't have so many people living, but with all the construction at the round, with everything happening, I mean, it might be one of the #1 complaints I get behind leaf blowers. And so we're really interested in that, but like there's no money in municipal governments to solve rail issues. But with Joe Biden, you know, the president, you know, when he was a senator, rode a train for 29 years back and forth to work. I think we have the best shot in a long time to get some rail money. So that's what I've been working on.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Mayor Beaty. I will do a last call if you've got time for questions, if anybody else is holding on to a question or comment.
And my
Does-
email address is public on the city website. So if you have questions, you want to reach out to me, I do constituent hours on Thursday. You can email me. We could set up time to talk about things. Thursdays are either the best day of my week or worst day of my week, depending on who comes to constituent hours.
Well, thank you for coming and joining us. And as always, our meetings are open for yourself and any of the other council members, and we're always here willing to help as a resource to the city as well. And
Say hi
Kevin,
to Ian for us.
Kevin, I saw your comment. I think that moving the train is I think you're thinking too small. And what should happen is we'll co-opt. We'll take over that right of way, and then there can be another max line that runs right through downtown.
Yeah, or like a rails to trails or something.
I think we're going to need public transit out to like Farmington and
Yep.
Cornelius more before that. Anyway, all right.
Keep training.
Gonna have to get on Metro for that, as well as the railroads. But anyway, so moving on then to our next item of business, we'll turn this meeting over to Officer Bowen for the BPD update.
Hello, welcome everyone. Franziska, is that right? If you could throw up the crime report. This is June stats. They haven't posted July's yet. I mean, we're 2 days into the month, so it's a little behind. But we can kind of touch through them real quick, and then I'm free to answer any questions or talk about anything else anybody has concerns with. Kind of note, assaults have dropped. It looks like the biggest was through simple assaults, and I suspect that the domestic violence assaults might be tacked into the same category. So whether it was like, a fight at a bar or a domestic assault, I think they kind of categorize the same there, because I didn't see domestic violence cases anywhere else. And my assumption might be with the warm weather and summer vacations, maybe more families are out of town. And so that might be why we see a reduction there. But it's hard to tell this close to that month. Moving down, we've got some burglary offenses. And again, we have about a good drop from the prior month. But of note on that, and I think for residential people, only one of the burglaries last month was a residential. The other were businesses. So obviously with warm weather and people keeping windows open and everything else, there are some things you can do to protect yourself or your home. I use wooden dowels in the windows so they don't open all the way. Just enough that I can get a lot of fresh air without someone else being able to climb through. Some simple, easy things like that can help with some just ease of mind or making your place a little less convenient for somebody if they're trying to look for opportunities. Vandalism, that's our criminal mischief stuff. So not a lot there. That can be anywhere from, damage to cars or graffiti. Graffiti, spray painting, those kind of things. Generally, I think we're doing pretty well with that. Fraud has got quite a bit of an uptick, and that could be anything from the telephone fraud scammers that people are falling victim to. I know I get a lot of those on my phone. The nice thing now is my phone gives me an update that says possible scam. But most legitimate businesses, when it comes to the government stuff, are not doing stuff over the phone. So early warning there. And the only Costco phone calls that I've received were scams as well. So most of those businesses don't operate that way. Moving down, we've got larceny and thefts. And I suspect a lot of those are at the retail level. We are continuing to see a large activity out of the retail thefts. Fred Meyer's and those locations get a lot of calls for service from us or for us. Weapon law violations. We continue to see an increase in firearms recovered on subjects when they've been arrested. Some of them have been replicas, but we have seen quite a few regular firearms. I know they recovered a stolen one, I believe, just 2 nights ago. So right there at the end of the month. and it might have been this. It's entirely possible it was the beginning of this month, but we do see a continued spike with that, and with the number of gun sales out there, it's not too surprising that we're going to see an uptick. And then moving down to our category, I guess, Group B offenses. The only big ones there, I see disorderly conduct, which is kind of, it's often a catch-all for us. I guess catch-all's not necessarily the best term, but there's a variety of things that could fall into disorderly conduct, and it's one of those public nuisance kind of offenses. I
think we lost Franziska from the call, so we no longer have the stats on screen. Just to,
okay.
to let you know.
So disorderly conducts, we had 34 that month. Last month, the month before was 25. So a bit of a spike there. The next one down, I guess the biggest one for me would be the driving under the influence. Last month was 2019. I'm sorry, it was 19, and that was B for May. And then in June, we had 17. So we're still running pretty similar. That's not much of a change. With warm weather and people out and about, it's going to be there. And those are always kind of interesting for me with the prevalence of Lyft and options to get home, yet some people still continue to consume alcohol and drive. So we try to put a lot of focus on that, but it's a challenge. So, and then I don't know what the all other offense group is, but it's the very bottom one, and it's at 63 for June. The month before was 69, so not a huge uptick there. Overall, when you look at both categories, Group A and Group B, and add them together, last month in June we were at 250. The month before at 255. So, we lose some in some categories, gain a few in others. At the end of the day, I think Beaverton is overall a very safe place to be. Proud to work there, and I think in some of the meetings that I go to, I don't know if I touched bases on it last month, but one of my primary job duties is working with the homeless individuals in the city. And part of those duties, I end up going to a lot of meetings with other agencies outside of the city. And so I can kind of get a feel for how things are going outside of our city. And I think overall that we're doing really well. Beaverton's a good place to be. So obviously we have our own challenges, but I think we're doing pretty well.
Fantastic. Thanks for the statistics, Officer Bowen. Floor is open, John.
Officer Bowen, good to meet you. I was in here last month, so it's finally good. We had such a great relationship with Officer Sutton. Say hi for us if you happen to see him and tease him a little bit. But question for you: are we seeing an uptick or any sort of concerning things around pedestrian car, bicycle car interactions in the downtown area? I've noticed a couple different really close calls recently around like First, Second, Third, and like Watson and Hall. It's it's totally not like it's more of a cars are parked and pedestrians step out and drivers don't see them because they're probably going a little too fast, and then it's a design problem inherently. But I'm really concerned about that, especially because at Lionheart like 2 or 3 weeks ago there was a bunch of kids, and I'm like, man, if this happens to a kid, this is gonna be terrible.
I'm really familiar with the area you're talking about. My partner and I we're assigned to the bike team. You weren't here last week for my introduction, but I'm assigned to the bike team. I work Monday through Thursday in the downtown core area a lot, and then we venture out into some of the other parts of the city because our primary focus is trying to work with the transient and homeless population and get them connected to resources and whatnot. A large number of those folks are in the downtown area, but we do find camps and other stuff in the outlying areas. But back to your question, I do see there are some design issues that I can see with that section of downtown. You've got brick laid roads and crosswalks. At visually, they're just different than other crosswalks. And so I commonly see motorists continue to drive by pedestrians who appear to be waiting to cross. Sometimes there's pedestrians standing at the corner and they're not clear in what their intentions might be as well, which can be confusing for motorists who are paying attention. Ultimately, nobody wants to hit a pedestrian. And I think the biggest thing for a lot of folks to remember is that if there's somebody at a crosswalk, even an unmarked one, at the corner is still considered an unmarked crosswalk. And they should be yielding to pedestrians at that point. Whether or not we've seen an uptick in actual strikes or crashes, I haven't heard any from our traffic team. It's something I could look into maybe for a future meeting if you wanted, but I haven't heard any specific numbers myself where they would indicate that's been a problem. I do know they target that area for some crosswalk stings periodically, where they'll have somebody attempting to cross and they have officers waiting for people that fail to yield or don't stop for the pedestrians. It's been a little while since I think they've operated one of those in that area, but that is a common area where they do that type of enforcement because of the issues with pedestrian traffic down there.
Okay. Yeah, no, that would any sort of updates you hear about that area specifically with the First Street Dining Commons, like that's not only really busy now, it's going to get busier, and that's a really good thing for our long-term plans. Like, right, we want that to happen, and it's just at some point there's going to be an intersection of a lot of people and fast cars, and that's never that I don't know. There's a few of us that could actually ruin our long-term placemaking if people get the impression that it's not safe. Right, like that sort of thing keeps me up. So yeah, anything that you hear, please kind of make it maybe even a standing agenda item or something like that. I know that Kevin has asked in the past for crash numbers specifically for bike. I know those are hard to come by, so we can start pushing the city for intersection designs and some long-term solutions. But yeah, any kind of anecdotes or whatever you hear, that would be super helpful. And I think I recognize you now. You said the bicycle, so really glad to have you here. Really appreciate it.
You might see me every now and then on the bike down in that area.
Yeah, we do. So it's good to see you.
Designs for those intersections, because there is an artistic look to how it is. And so when they're engineering areas for a specific look, you get some unintended consequences. And one of those might be that the crosswalks aren't as clearly displayed as what some motorists are used to. So that could be why. It's a balance. I know this last year, because of the food commons, that's changed the dynamics down in that area because they've blocked off streets. And so I don't know if that's something that they look forward to in the future as far as some engineering changes because of that. I don't know. And it's hard to say because I don't know if that's going to be a permanent position where they block off a city street now for dining for those restaurants. And how do they balance that with all the other restaurants in the city who have their own needs? So I don't know. There's just a lot of questions. But I'll look into the stats, see what I can dig up. But it'll take a little work on our computer system to see how it's tracked and if it's queryable.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. I appreciate any insight you can give us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions? Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I really appreciated seeing the actual data, the numbers. I thought that was really helpful. So if you want to keep doing that or send it to us ahead of time, like anything is fine with that, but that was really helpful.
It's, I got the link sent to me, so I believe it should be accessible to the public. If not, I'll attach my email and try to remember. I'll bring those regularly. This should be pretty easy for me to get. But as far as citizens looking them up, a lot of our stuff is on our webpage. It's just a matter of searching through it. So it is a government website. Sometimes it's a little clunkier than some of the private industry stuff, but we'll find it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Anything else for Officer Bowen? All right. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you out on the bike.
Yeah. Enjoy the heat while we have it, because it's going to be rainy. I just bring that up. I know somebody was ready for the fall, but I like to remind myself when it's like this that it's going to rain. That's what Oregon gets. So enjoy it while we have it.
Yep. You can
Thank
put
you.
feathers on a bike. You can't put air conditioning on a bike.
No, I can't. Have a good night.
Yep. All right. Moving on to Lulu and THPRD update.
Hello, everybody. Lulú Ballesteros with THPRD. Can you all hear me okay? I just have my fan. Yes, awesome. So some updates. Registration is coming up once again. It's sneaking up on us for autumn, happening in fall, happening in August 28th. A Saturday as always. We will have the guides available online this Friday, so you can start looking up what activities we will be offering for fall. As always, we encourage registration online, but we do have in-person registration at facilities that are open. And we have our Centro de Bienvenida, which is a registration in Spanish event, where we have interpretation in other languages available as well. This happening at our administration office at the HMT complex. So start checking our website on Friday and select a few activities for you and your family. We're also hiring for all of these fall activities because we're also reopening. We want to invite the community to go online and check out all the amazing jobs that we have available at the moment. Summer events, we will be hosting same as last year, and we have been hosting several small scale outdoor events. It's just activating parks and having spaces for art and culture. You can also find it online, and you click on events and you see all the activities that we have for all ages and for all abilities. Very important, it's coming up. You will find it in that same website in events. We will have vaccination clinics, jornadas de vacunación, in partnership with Medical Teams International, Kaiser Permanente, and Venezuela's Voice in Oregon. So more information coming up, found at our website in events. We also brought back the monthly pass sale. A lot of people were asking for those, be it a general pass, a deluxe pass. They will, the silver upgrade pass was also a big deal for all of us. So they're coming back. For more information, you can always call us or go online and check details for each of them. We also have our fall native plant sale coming up soon. Something that will look different for this occasion is that you can go online and pre-order. About openings, I know, yes. About openings, as I said, I don't know if I should say this is the most exciting part. All of it is exciting, but the LC Store Center will be opening in mid-September. We're very excited about that, the community as well. At the moment, we are hiring staff, prepping staff. As always, it's for our 55 and better community. And you can expect the dedicated areas, the weight and cardio rooms, the game room, which is very important for the community, many play and social activities, and much, much more. Also, the Beaverton Swim Center is opening up in 2 days, August 4th. It's going to be open once again, and we will have drop-in available, and from Monday, August 16th on. Aside from this, we have a few grants that we've received. One of them will provide free swimming lessons for financial aid applicants. Also more information coming up, but it's always good to share. We have Talking Walls projects coming up, which is the creation of murals at different parks and facilities within THPRD. If you're interested, I would go online, you click connect, and you will find the Talking Walls. This would be our 4th series. So I hope some of you are interested in participating or finding out more. And last but not least, we just finished a wonderful grant where we gave over 100 spots for summer camps, free summer camps for students from the migrant program from the multilingual department, the Beaverton School District. It's a grant that they had thanks to the Oregon Department of Education. So that's something to highlight as well. And I'm available for any questions or follow-up that you would like to have.
All right, real quick, Francis also was asking about the splash pad at Conestoga.
Not coming back because we opened Beaverton Swim Center. That's great. we're closing down that area in Conestoga. Thank you for that reminder, because they're fixing several spaces, including splash pad and pool.
Gotcha. And I see that Razier just posted something to you in the chat about forwarding, perhaps being able to forward her public relations for the talking walls to TV Creates. Just
Yes.
to bring that to your attention.
Perfect.
And before I get to, I think, John, Kevin, did you have something as well? Okay. I just wanted to ask you 2 questions from going through, speaking of Beaverton Swim Center. There's a big area of turf grass on the east side that they really like to water in the middle of the day. And I don't know if, as we like THPRD, we like to give them resources, and I know we want to make sure that the resources are being used responsibly. And I didn't know if this was just something that, since there hasn't been a lot of staff there, it's just not aware of, or if this is something, because I know that we're about to embark on a big tree planting, and having irrigation water available was contentious, or is being contentious. So if they're free to do that during the middle of the afternoon when it's not particularly effective, but maybe somebody needs to know about it. Second, kind of on that same thing, is at Evelyn Schiffler, this is something we noticed back in the winter. There was a lot of additional turf grass being put in, replacing some of the natives that were there. And since I know a lot of us in the NAC are concerned about conserving our resources, as well as, just there's already a lot of grass at Evelyn Schiffler, and I'm just kind of wondering. I know that you're not the person that makes these decisions.
No, but to let them know and maybe come back with an answer.
Yeah, it just seems
wise. Taking note.
So
the additional turf and what's going on there, what the plan is.
Exactly. I appreciate that. So, John Duggar, you're on.
Thanks. Good to see you. I also missed you last month, and actually I think maybe a couple months, but quick question for you. So this has kind of been on my list, and I finally found a list of questions that I've been meaning to ask. Portland for years did something called Portland Sunday Parkways, which was a bike event between that essentially was meant to highlight their parks, right? Like they would close off streets and they would navigate from one park to the other, and there were vendors set up, and it was a big thing. It was outside. It was getting people to parks. It was getting people to bike. Has THP ever considered doing something like that? And if not, how do we make them? Because I think it'd be a fantastic idea to get people out, to explore our beautiful parks, to get on a bike, to make our streets safer, and to get people thinking about that.
Something like with a safe route to school, and maybe partnering with the district, that kind of thing. What they did was at one park, they highlight that and everything surrounding that park, or is it several parks?
Portland, so I believe they do and you can just Google, it's called Portland Sunday Parkways, but they do like North Portland, right? And then there was Northeast and Southeast. So it's like sections of the city, and they did 5 of them. And they essentially mapped out like a 7 or 8 mile loop, between all the parks. And they closed off certain streets you don't have to close off because they're neighborhoods and it's safe to bike. But they wanted to create so they had volunteers at the big intersections to wave bikes through and all this stuff. But it made it really fun. And we used to do that a lot. And now that I've been biking a lot, I think there's an opportunity for us to do something like that out here, because number one, I think our parks are better. I'm biased, but I think our parks are better. But I think we gotta introduce them to a lot of people who aren't quite aware of that. And I think that's one way that we can build up a biking culture, and we can get people aware of our amazing park district.
Taking note, and Portland Sunday Parkways, if we can highlight and do something similar to that, how that would look like. And if we don't have it on the books, why not? Or how can we make it happen?
And I would venture, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I would venture this neighborhood and Highland and a number of others would be 100% happy to partner with you to make that happen.
That's good to know.
Or I can at least peer pressure them too.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, did you have anything else, or was it just the one? Okay, great. Kevin.
So good timing for that conversation, John, talking about bikes, because the bike repair station that you all helped fund is installed now in front of Beaverton Swim Center. So you can go use it. The company actually mistakenly sent us a nicer air pump than what we paid for. So it's cool. It looks great. It's incredibly heavy and durable, so it's not going anywhere. the second one will be going in over at La Scala, hopefully Thursday this week. But the Beaverton Swim Center one is there, so use it, tell people about it. With the swim center opening back up, like make sure the customers see it and know what it is. I'm pretty excited about it.
Nice. Did anyone have anything else for questions for THPRD? No. Lulu, can I ask, or can I give the grill brush public service announcement, or would you like to do that?
Yes, actually, thank you. Yeah.
No problem. Okay, so Lulu couldn't join us last week because she had a family medical emergency, and this was something that I heard as kind of an apocryphal thing, but it is apparently real and life threatening. Try not to use wire brush grill brushes if you're cleaning a grill during your holiday cookouts or summertime cookouts, because part of those little metal bristles can break off, lodge, get in your food, and then when you eat that, it can cause dire consequences. This happened to someone in Lulu's sphere, and it apparently is a very terrifying experience to witness. So in its place, you can use a wadded up ball of foil, which works a treat. That's what I used on my own grill once I read about this and was like, that sounds horrifying. Let me toss this grill brush out. So it's simple. Get rid of your wire grill brush.
Apparently, it happens more often than I would have thought. It's very often that it happens. Children and people swallow those pieces and they can get locked in your throat. And 2 surgeries later, they're gonna be fine. But other people have it in their stomachs. It can be dangerous. So yeah, never use those. Not even high.
I mean, yeah, it seems it's a no-brainer to just, big grill brush doesn't want you to know this, but get rid of them. So anyway.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that, Lulu. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. That's really scary. I didn't know that, and I'm pretty sure we use one of those, so we can take care of that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a super simple thing.
Yeah,
you can even use like I think I've seen just paddle of wood. Like you can just rub it over your.
I have seen non-metal ones before. Like
Yeah.
they sell ones that are not metal that are like this silicone. I don't know, like this other, but they were more expensive, so we just got the metal one because. But my goodness, I didn't know that. So
But
thanks
really,
for
it's
sharing
just
that.
as
It's
simple
scary.
as wadding up a piece of aluminum foil
Yeah.
and run that over, and you're good to go, and no little sharp wires. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month. I know that THPRD has been having a lot of great events at Evelyn Schiffler. My niece has been going to all of the bark parties and the superhero days. So it's very exciting that you guys have been able to continue to start doing this again. So Swim Center is next. Excellent. We'll see you next month. So I think that takes us to the city update finally. Or actually, no, sorry. Well, I would say BCCI, but I don't think you guys met last month.
Did not have a meeting in July, so you can skip me.
All right, you're skipped. City update.
All right, well, thanks y'all. And sorry for abruptly dropping out. My internet went down for about 10 minutes, apparently. So apologies for that, but that's why you make people co-hosts in Zoom meetings so that the entire meeting doesn't just end. So pro tip, if you run Zoom meetings, always designate a co-host. And with that, so a couple of pieces of news from the city. So Beaverton Night Market, which y'all have heard a lot about already, but it is here and it's gonna be awesome. August welcomes the Beaverton Night Market on 2 consecutive days, Friday, August 13th and Saturday, August 14th in a new location on the streets of downtown Beaverton. Join us in person for food, fun, and more. And let me just tell you, it's the best food ever. Come hungry. The market will take shape nightly from 4 to 10 p.m. at Southwest 1st Street and Southwest Tucker Avenue. Street closures will be in place all day Friday and Saturday. This family-friendly event will feature more than 40 unique vendors and 20 plus performers representing dozens of cultures from around the world. 2 food court areas will feature stages so attendees can enjoy music and dance performances while they eat. This year's market also includes an exciting collaboration with the La Strada dei Pastelli Chalk Art Festival, which we heard about in depth last month, which is super exciting. Thanks so much, Razier, for putting that on. The event is free and open to all community members. No reservations are required. Attendees should practice safety protocols and stay home if sick. For more information, visit beavertonoregon.gov/night market, and I'll put the links in the chat here when I'm finished in just a moment. So sign up to receive updates on City of Beaverton events. These events include Beaverton Night Market, tree lighting, volunteer fair by Beaverton, welcoming week, state of the city, and more. While there won't be a Beaverton celebration parade this year, there is still plenty to look forward to, and you can access those notifications at beavertonoregon.gov/notify me. And last but certainly not least, and definitely relevant to what we've talked about tonight with the mayor, be prepared, be ready. It's always a good time to prepare for emergencies and other events, especially as we continue to see impacts from COVID-19, deal with severe weather, and anticipate a dangerous wildfire season. OR Alert, the state's new emergency alert notification system that is currently being implemented. OR Alert is the state's new emergency alert notification system. With OR Alert, people across the state are now able to sign up for alerts custom to their geographic area and receive notifications in the most convenient way possible. Anyone can receive emergency alerts through OR Alert by signing up via text, web, or mobile app. By text, you can sign up by texting your zip code to 888-777, and I'll put all of this in the chat. The website is www.oralert.gov. And then the mobile app is the Everbridge mobile app, which you can download. Washington County has emergency preparation tips and encourages community members to sign up for public alerts. And Beaverton Emergency Management also has resources on making plans, building an emergency kit, and staying informed on your community. And that's all I have for you all this month. Does anybody have any questions for me about anything I've said or anything city related? John.
I have an addition for on the city side, just because I got I got something from the program coordinator for parking.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they are, from Chase Landry sent me an email asking, they're going to come and present the results of their surveying and polling and things like that, but they're still looking for input, and I'm going to put these questions in chat as well as the email address to respond to. The question that they were hoping to find out is these two: if you had a magic wand, what would you change about parking in downtown Beaverton? And what Beaverton parking topics or issues are particularly important to your group? So that's us, Central Beaverton. They're looking for responses by this Friday, and you can send them to parking@beaverton.gov by Friday, August 6th. So, but in either September and October, they're going to bring the results of this new comprehensive parking plan and program to us. So that's all I wanted to say for anybody who hasn't had input. John Duggar.
Before I ask my question, I want to reiterate that to everyone. Please, 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 if you live in this neighborhood, go and fill out that form, because a lot of people in Beaverton are going to say, let's knock everything down and put a parking lot there. And, you know, do you want your neighborhood to look like a giant Walmart, or do you want it to be an urban walkable town center? Make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah, and let me piggyback again on that as well. I know on the in the Loop project, we have heard some of the initial results from this. There's been a lot of feedback from businesses. They've been very proactive in giving that, and they're a very important constituent and voice in this process. But so are the residents that live around it. And just because you know, a business owner is going to be interested in what works for their business from, you know, their business hours, but there's days that there's closed, and there's times that parking is just dead space, and so yeah, voice your use your voice, and I encourage you as well to participate in the process.
Please. Franziska, number one, also fantastic to see you. It is so good to see everyone. I missed everyone last month, so thank you again for everything you do. A couple intersections I want to bring up with you, because I think there's a city issue here. The first one is, and I say these as a person who's biking a lot now, and these are specific intersections that are designated as bike boulevards, so they have the separate city painting that they've done and all this. So 6th and Murray, okay, that is a major connection from the West Side Trail to downtown. I always pass bicyclists going through there. That light doesn't it tells you to tells you to wait in a certain area that doesn't recognize bicyclists. So you have to, I sat through, if you're lucky enough to get behind a car, it'll recognize that, but otherwise you wait 3 minutes and then you realize it doesn't recognize you, and you got to do it again. And so it's like a 6-minute wait for a lot of bicyclists. And I hear people getting frustrated all the time, and it has the cameras up. So I think it's a misalignment. So I think the city needs to fix that, particularly because that's a bike boulevard and it's very, very heavily trafficked by bicycles. Very, 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 very heavily trafficked. The other intersection is actually not in our neighborhood, but it's really close by, which is Allen and King. Allen and King connects the Fano Creek Trail to downtown Beaverton. So same thing, it's a bike boulevard. It's how you cross Allen. Actually you have to stop and go and press, just like at the Murray, you have to press the pedestrians signal and then hope that cars can see you that way. And then for those of us who bike a lot, it feels very awkward to be in a pedestrian space on a bicycle, and it doesn't feel safe for pedestrians, and it feels weird all around. The city's trying to funnel traffic on bikes through those bike boulevards, and I love them, but we can't make the experience that terrible at the intersections. And those two particular intersections are highly, highly trafficked, and they're insanely frustrating as a bicyclist. They're insanely frustrating as someone who wants to see people bicycling, to see them get frustrated. And I didn't know if I should go on the city's website and do it, but I thought maybe from an NAC perspective, it would have a little more weight to get those things fixed, because it is insanely frustrating. And those corridors are so trafficked. We're not going to convince people to get out of their cars and ride a bike if we make their experience awful. So it's really important to get that right. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up. This is actually my first experience navigating kind of a traffic issue, but related to bike safety. There's a lot of traffic calming stuff happening around how do we stop people speeding down 155th Avenue, for example. But in terms of these particular intersections, I am certainly more than happy to bring these up with Jabra. I work closely with Jabra in a couple of different capacities. I know that the NAC had also been discussing, I don't think you were at that meeting, there was a particular intersection pedestrian-wise, or a crossing that Rachel had brought up that felt particularly unsafe because of visibility issues. Rachel, you're welcome to chime in. I believe you had you written a letter on behalf of the NAC, or were you in that process?
Yeah, I did write a letter. I wrote a letter to Mayor Beaty as well as City Council, and got referred to Jabra. And yeah, the outcome, it's because one of the solutions is like moving, like where like parking is, like he had jurisdiction over that. So they're actually gonna like move back where parking can start on that road. So we should hopefully have a better visibility there.
I just want to clarify for some of our other attendees. We're talking particularly about the intersection of 10th and Erickson, right across from Evelyn Schiffler. I know that there were, Francis, I don't remember if you were one of the residents of over by there that had brought that up, but I know that other members or residents of Beaverton Lodge and things like that had specifically said that not only as pedestrians, but again, any motor vehicle traffic heading eastbound, westbound on that, there are bad sight lines for all of the road users. So I really appreciate Rachel taking this to both the council and to the traffic engineer, and it looks like there's some traction on that, because it seemed like something that would benefit all of the road users, but particularly the vulnerable road users.
Yeah, so getting back to the question kind of intersections, how can we get this addressed? Is it best for the NAC to raise this as a NAC level issue? I mean, I would say that I think anytime something is raised as a NAC level issue, which it connotes that there's a broad-based interest in that as a topic, to be addressed. So I certainly support that route, and I'm happy to do anything on my end to help navigate that process or elevate it to the appropriate people.
Yeah, I would like these two intersections are really bad. and I, I would even ask Kevin maybe if he knows other ones, but at the end of the day, like if you're going to paint this a bike boulevard, which tells bicyclists, we want you to ride here. I'd like to see the city do an audit of the lights, because, we can't be directing people, to ride bikes there and also have a terrible experience there. Because I mean, even some of the other intersections are like, like better. They're just not bike boulevards or whatever. I've kind of found ways to navigate around, but it's just, it's just, if we can start with these two, and then maybe part of the question is, Jobber, how do we address the overall strategy here? Would it make sense to go back to the NAC and say we want some sort of audit, or hell, I'll go ride my bike, around and figure out which ones over time, but that doesn't seem very efficient. But at this point, like we've got to get serious about our bike infrastructure and like making sure it's working. And that, I'm not even talking about investing more. I'm just saying making sure what we have works. Because again, if you look at Bike Beaverton's website, it says bike here, and then you bike there and it's terrible. And it's very frustrating.
Well, part of it is us as constituents are need to, I'm in preparation for the Maritime. I was looking over some of the civic plan, comprehensive plan, and they're like the transportation section of the comprehensive plan was last updated 6 years ago. So there are things that either need to be, I think that we as citizens should be taking to probably particularly council, since they're making the policy decisions on this, and to make sure that, hey, you put out these goals, and what are the metrics that you're hitting or missing on, and are you following through with the promise of this plan on developing the bike infrastructure, or developing the other transit infrastructure, developing the walkability and things like that. And that's on us to do.
But there was a 2018, the city council passed an active transportation plan. They're just, and we talked about this in budget committee, there's not a whole lot of funding right now. We're still trying to figure that part out. But so that's all new infrastructure, and upgrades to existing infrastructure. But I'm just, and Kevin, you put a great one in there. And now that you think about Main and Allen by the new safety center, it tells you specifically move your bike to the center of the lane, right? And you wait there, and it cycles through 4 times, and then you literally dart across Allen because you're tired of waiting there. And let's not wait until someone gets killed. It's just really scary.
The other staff member that would be a really great advocate for this would be Jean Seneschal Biggs. She's Dan Turk's boss. She's the transportation planning manager, and she's the one that oversees the active transportation plan and its execution, its ultimate execution. So both of them in that particular program are essentially tasked with how to develop the infrastructure and support the infrastructure for active transportation like biking. Jabra handles the signals and the lights and the timing for all of that. So I think between the two of them, there's certainly an opportunity to get some traction to have these particular intersections looked at. And I'm really glad that you're bringing it to my attention. I live off Allen, but I don't bike down Allen. You're much braver bicyclists than
no one
me.
should bike down.
No one should bike down Allen, but you got to cross Allen, right?
Sure. But yeah, so please let me know, what you as the NAC would like for me to do on my behalf. I work closely with both of those staff members all the time. So I'll defer to you for how to move forward, and then I'll just plug in however.
Yeah, I would recommend a conversation. And then if they need more from us to get those 3 intersections, so we'll also throw in Main and Allen. So we had the Murray and 6, Main and Allen and King.
I'm going to go ahead and throw in Lombard and Farmington in there.
Yeah, Lombard and Farmington. I mean, there's so many ones they're just terrible. And so at the end of the day, like if we could, like the fire is burning in these intersections, but the embers are glowing everywhere where these unmaintained intersections are. And like I think we got to fix the ones right now, and then we got to have a broader strategy on, because maybe we can't fix them all, right? Maybe it's a budget thing, but it would be great if we could start having that conversation.
So here's a question, because I can always go and would would any of the members be interested in having somebody like Gene come in and have them talk about what the current state of the active transportation plan is? Because I'm sure, you know, they're always happy to, when people are interested in what's going on in their office. So, you know, I've kind of thought about that for approaching the city arborist as well, just to have him come in.
So I'm
and
giving you
present.
2 thumbs up. I'm not
Okay.
shooting you a bird. It's like blurring. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
So
Dan,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dan's going to be here next month, and I believe Gene is going to be with him.
Yeah.
So I can
Well,
give them.
So they're going to be spending their time on the loop because hopefully they're going to
Sure.
have new design stuff. And that's a really exciting, it's a big project on its own. I don't want them to necessarily get
sidetracked.
Spend too much time
Sure,
answering stuff because
sure.
there's going to be a lot of questions. We're still waiting. We're waiting to hear what kind of design information.
Sure.
I know they've had a couple of months that they've been putting off. So
yeah, what I can do is I'll send an email to Jean and Jabra and just say, hey, you know, last night's NAC meeting, these particular intersections were raised as very problematic. You know, what can we do to start looking into them, and what more information would you want to know, so that you can start figuring out what that process looks like. So I'll start that conversation, and then you know, I'm happy to loop, you know, John, Thom, you know, Kevin, whoever in as needed to give that actual like firsthand experience, because I can't. I don't have any of that myself, but I'm happy to be the advocate on your behalf.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much. That would be, and we're 100% happy to have conversations too if they need more information or whatever. That's
sure.
fantastic. Thank you.
You
You're the
bet.
best.
I love it when the city folks, anybody from any of the offices come in, because it's great to hear about what they're doing. Anyway. Kevin, did you have something as well?
Yeah, I do. So Franziska, you might have mentioned it, and if you did, thanks. I'm sorry if I missed it. The city is talking about over the next month or so the future of outdoor dining in downtown. City staff have drafted policies for outdoor dining spaces for businesses, and the city council is going to be talking through it. I think the first council session when they'll talk through it is in a couple weeks, but there are a few sessions where they'll make revisions and come back. And I think given how much this committee has really pushed for and encouraged more spaces like that, I think it would be wise for us to have a couple people who could either draft up a statement together to share testimony before council, or advocate for resident perspective, because like they'll get business feedback really well. Businesses share what's going on, and businesses have a voice that's heard a lot. But I think residents, we've got a voice that's a little bit different. And if anybody here wants to help lead some of that, like, I know I would appreciate that. Like, I'm going to be working a lot with the businesses to get some of their voices out there too. But residents like you all, or people who are not here, could be really helpful.
Not to take too much time, or I mean, we're pretty much into our own business time right now. But have you considered did you want to do like any like polling of users of, for example, First Street, or either formal or informal, or?
So the city's got really good survey responses from downtown community. What I'm looking for and what I'm going to be working for is talking with the businesses that have had these outdoor spaces to get testimony from them.
Right.
So it'll be more, my outreach will be more focused.
I'm just I mean, you're obviously going to get the support of pretty much most of the people that I know of in this meeting we're in favor of things, and I know that from a formal standpoint, we're happy to, you know, I'm happy to draft up something again in support on behalf of the NAC. I'm pretty sure we'll have the board supporting that. But if you're looking for more personal testimony, I guess what I wasn't sure is did you want to try and get something that was a broader representation of the community rather than just the usual voices in this meeting?
I see. Okay. No, I think it'd be fine just to have a statement from the NAC itself. Like the city's done a lot of outreach. They've got a lot of good survey responses. We don't need to do all of that. like the NAC is a recognized system of power within the
Sure. Oh,
organization.
no, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And what I'm looking for is just because I know, Kevin, I know that you're as a private citizen in favor of this. John, I know you as a private citizen are in favor of this. I and my family are as well. We don't necessarily. I personally, I don't always remember to ask my neighbors and some of the other folks that I know in the neighborhood about what their experience is. What I was trying to figure out is what's more the broad, the general. I want to make sure that what we're doing is representative of the community. I haven't seen anything or anyone coming here to voice opposition to any of this. So I like to take silence as tacit approval on that case. But I'm just looking for more specifics, especially in drafting something that is beyond an emergency. Last year when we were going to council, it was to support an emergency action to support businesses. And there was big buy-in from the community, and that's great. And it's been persistent. And I've never seen anybody complaining about it. But I want to make sure that when we actually go and say, hey, you know what, council, we want to make sure that this is permanent and it stays, that we've got the community support.
Well, I think, just listening to this dialogue, I think you're certainly well within your right as the NAC board to say, hey, the NAC board supports this. I don't think it's a conflation to say, the entire, you're not necessarily saying that you represent all of Central Beaverton in supporting this initiative, but as NAC board members, I think it's certainly within your purview to say, the NAC has taken a position on this and we're in support of this, being a permanent institution going forward. And that certainly does carry, a certain degree of weight to it. Like Kevin said, the NACs are recognized within the city as having a particular kind of voice. And so if that's something, that the NAC board wants to get behind, then by all means, I think that would be wholly appropriate in this case.
Absolutely. It was also just in terms of actually, if you want to have so we can do it like last year where a letter is drafted and it gets approved and sent in, or you can just empower, say, whomever, John, Amanda, Tom, somebody write a letter and we'll just trust you on that it's going to be representative. Or if you want testimony, I guess I was just looking to see if City Council sees a lot of the same faces, and if there's fresh faces, then it's always fun. But I know.
I would say from my experience, Tom, I think it makes more sense for us to draft a letter.
Okay.
We would take a vote as a board, draft the letter, and then submit it in writing to the city, to the council. They'll get those and they read them. And,
And that's like I said, that's what we did for the Open Air Recovery Act last year.
Yeah.
And we can go ahead and do something similar. So.
And Tom, can we say here, like, hey, if anybody's not in this meeting, but you have feedback that you want to share for the outdoor dining policy creation, like email Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that we can include that in this letter draft. And maybe we'll get some, maybe not, but at least we're putting it out there a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who is watching this broadcast post-meeting, and you have any thoughts or feelings that you would like relayed to City Council formally through the Central Beaverton Neighborhood Association Committee, please email me. Don't send me eels. That's like you. Anyway, at tmdrane, DRANE @gmail.com, and I'll be happy to include your thoughts in our.
When do we need that by?
That is a good question, Kevin. When would you? So you said it's going to be on the agenda in a couple of weeks. So is this something that should be addressed before our next NAC meeting?
Yeah, it probably should be addressed before our next NAC meeting. I think the first conversation with council might be the 10th, so in a week. Okay. But I think it'll be happening over the next few weeks after that too. I don't remember the exact dates off the top of my head though.
Okay. So for anyone reading minutes or again watching this after the fact, If you could get those thoughts or feelings to that email address, tmdrane, D-R-A-N-E, @gmail.com by, say, August the 9th, then I will make sure to include that in there, in our formal letter. And then for a letter, I wrote the last one. Does anybody else want to write one, or do you want me to just? Yes, Kevin.
Okay, I found the email.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so August 17th is the deadline for all comments on the preliminary program guidelines.
Okay.
City Council will do a review then. September 7th, City Council will do the first reading of the ordinance to create a new permit program. And then September 14th, they'll do a second reading of the ordinance and maybe adopt it then. So we got like a month and 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, if they're going to be drafting it
Yeah.
by the first week of September, then we've got pretty much until the comment period, which was
Yeah.
the 17th. So, so we should look to submit a letter by that 17th deadline. I think sounds good. So then back to the point at hand. Who wants to draft?
I vote the chair.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I think
I
it
got no
would.
problem. That's
I
fine.
mean, if you're willing, Tom.
Yeah. It's
I think
really
I think it means more coming from the chair. It feels more official.
Absolutely.
If you're willing. If you're willing.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I wrote the last one, and you know, it's part of the
copy and paste and update a little bit.
Pretty much. I mean, it's definitely something that, you know, I try to, whenever I'm in any other public forum, I try to gauge, you know, have people gone there? Have they what's been the response? And it's something that I usually try and I've been asking them at the loop meetings whether or not, because it's, you know, it's become a central feature of that part of this part of the kind of southern end of the loop, and whether that's going to be a feature that stays. And they keep saying, well, we don't know. But everybody who's been at Rachel, I don't know if you've seen any negative responses, but everybody seems to be really enthusiastic about having that area there. And I think that if it gets actually formalized in policy and to make it, you know, permanent, then that'll give the folks that are trying to design a downtown of character, it'll give them a lot more to work with too. So, all right, I will be accepting any input from the community at that previously mentioned email address, tmdrane@gmail.com, up until, well, let's say August 14th at this point. We'll give it a few days for me to collect that, and I will draft that. So let's just get a quick formal vote from.
Should I make a motion?
Probably.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to empower the chair, Thom Drane, to draft a letter to City Council authorizing our support of the open air, what's it called, Kevin? The open air dining policy ordinance.
Open air Beaverton.
Open air Beaverton.
I second.
All right, motion on the floor for the chair to draft a letter in support of the open air Beaverton dining policy. All those in favor, say yay or other. Hey, Kinsey. All right, motion passes unanimously by those members in attendance. Great. So yeah, and if anybody from the board has anything that you'd like me to, like, in particular to add, personal anecdotes, other broad feelings from the community, you can fire away to me as well. So cool. Well, that takes care of a little bit of new business. Did anybody have anything else for Franziska in the city? Cool. We should do the officers' reports. We have 3 months of minutes that need to be approved, May, June, and July. And were there any, I think previously we went through and we didn't actually approve May and June, but we did not have any edits to those the last time that they were brought up. But in the meantime, does anyone have any addenda or edits to the minutes as submitted for the months of May, June, or July? They are always comprehensive and delightful. All right.
I didn't see any.
Cool. Can we go ahead and approve these minutes as written?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve. Did you say May?
May, June, and July 2021.
May, June, and July. The minutes from May, June, and July as submitted. We need a second.
I second that.
Thank you, Jonathan. Motion on the floor to approve the May, June, and July 2021 minutes as submitted. All those in favor say yay, or aye, or nay, or otherwise signal your assent or dissent. Motion passes unanimously.
I promise I'm not shooting birds. I don't know why this keeps doing that. Like I'm like, dude.
You look like you've got some really crazy proportions there. It's pretty.
No, I'm
cool.
gonna turn off the blur.
So you said Quinn there was no change in the Treasury.
I think he said there. If there was, it was good because we might have gotten a check. But
I think that was last month. His message was we were just waiting on a reimbursement.
Yeah, I think that might be the only thing. But I don't know. He said he would submit it to you in a couple days. So what we can do is I'll make sure he submits it to Amanda as well to add into the minutes, and then we should be good. I think we have the same amount of money as last month, maybe a little more. Yeah. We might have gotten one of the reimbursements.
Yeah, it'll either be like the $3,000 and change or $6,000 and change. And I think this month we will have 2 grants to pay out for BDA's bike repair because they got those, and then for Rosier, BCCI subcommittee, or someone is going to meet from BCCI, according to Franziska, to approve that in the coming week, I think. Cool. So once we get
so let's hold off on approving any Treasury reports until Quinn is back next month.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. All right, that takes us to subcommittee reports. And I know I will go ahead and start us off with events. I know that we haven't formally met in a couple of months because there has been another big event that some of the other members have been taking care of. I have been working, or I've previously we had been we had discussed the possibility of doing outreach for our tree planting at, for example, the farmers market. I'm still waiting to hear back from the farmers market whether they are still going to have their community table this year or not. Previously it was no, then there was the possibility, but they still hadn't started it. And now with public health scenarios changing, I don't know if they're going to have it this year or not. Regardless, I had been talking to them about doing tabling there much later in the year, probably towards the end of market, to get it closer to our winter 2022 event anyway. So there's still time to communicate. Other than that, the other bit of outreach that I think had been briefly discussed was I reached out to Maria about possibly doing outreach at the night market, which will be firmly in our territory, and she directed me to Mr. Kevin Teeter of the Beaverton Downtown Association. Does that sound familiar?
I think I've heard of that.
Okay. She had mentioned that I believe she spoke with you about the possibility of sharing your table.
Yep. Yeah, Alexis asked me, I think she emailed last week, wondering if the NAC could share with the BDA. BDA was planning on having a 10 by 10 booth with a table at the night market to do some promotion downtown, share about our donation program we've launched and some other events that are coming up in downtown. I said, yep, totally fine with me if the NAC shares that space. I'm happy to talk up the NAC along with any of our volunteers that we have staffing that booth. I would love it if there are NAC members who are here if they also can talk up downtown, and it can kind of be a mutual shared spot. So I'd welcome that.
Yeah, so I know this is an event that's coming up in about 11 days. So it's fairly short notice in terms of especially getting anything. I don't know that we would necessarily getting any promotional materials, but even just having a presence there, to having been to the other night markets in the past, it's a cross section of the community that I think would be good to hit, just to say, hey, this is Central Beaverton. This is one of the things that goes. This is not the only thing that goes on in our neighborhood. But I don't know. I can be available for doing some tabling hours. Kevin, can I ask you? Were you planning? So it's 6 hours each night. Were you planning on being there, or having somebody manning table for the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't be able to be there Saturday, but I'll be there at least most of the time Friday. But then we will have volunteers staffing the booth the rest of the time.
I just wasn't sure if 9 o'clock on Saturday night is a big traffic for the Beaverton Downtown Association's booth, type of thing. That's all.
It'll be busy for the night market.
It will be, but yeah, that's true. So I know that I have. I'm still working on exactly how much time, but I will have some time for one or both of those evenings. If anybody else is interested in joining us, again, this is short notice, but if you've got the opportunity, then we'd appreciate whatever. Or if anybody has any feedback about or suggestions for the type of outreach to be doing, or even if we should be doing this. I mean, this was kind of on my own, realizing that there was an opportunity there, and we haven't really done anything like that formally. So I'm kind of at this point, the floor is open if anybody's got suggestions or feedback.
I think it's great to do, and I can't help, and I don't have any good ideas beyond
That's
that.
fair. I mean, all I was probably going to do was sit there in a CBNAC shirt and blather about the Central Beaverton NAC and what a tremendous job that the city does, and how it's a great way to interact with the city.
I'm also
and your community.
happy to help with the last minute, try to get something printed so that you can have something to send home with folks.
Sure. Yeah, that's true, because the city's got you've got your own printing office, right?
I used to work in the print house, so way back
Oh.
when. But yeah, so I know a thing or two about getting something printed.
Cool. Well, Franziska will probably correspond with you some about, and if anybody's got. John, did you do much public outreach at Highland?
Yeah, we did it a number of times.
Okay.
Usually at parks and things like that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you're right on. It's just the key will be what we found is have your NAC volunteers. Don't wait behind a desk and wait for people to come talk to them. That's the absolute worst thing to do, because then you just end up talking to yourselves and you wasted an hour or two. Engage with people around, smile, look like you're happy to be there. But don't be behind the table, like be in front of it, like initiate the conversation. So all of you extroverts out there that might be thinking about this is your time to shine. You've been cooped up for 1.5 years. We need you. This is the time. That's my only that's the best coach speech I can give right now. Best one I can do.
John, I think that's great advice. And I think for things that we can have at the booth, I think it'd be great to have some printed materials for the grants that the NAC offers in particular.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Most of Beaverton has no clue that it's even a thing.
Right.
And the downtown community too. Like a lot of the businesses there, like they know some grants that are out there, and I'll share information about grants, but then they'll forget. But if they're here and they see, oh, I can get $3,000 to do a cool little community program or do this cool upgrade, along the sidewalk, like they'll take advantage of that. So I think sharing some of that information would be great.
Yeah, I'll also check with Miles to see if he's got, because I'm sure that the neighborhood office has done plenty of outreach, and what other promotion suggestions they've got.
Yeah.
But yeah, pushing the grants is a great way to show that, you know, we're not always out there, but we're you know, we're not always hosting things, but we're facilitating activity in the neighborhood. Rachel, did you have?
Yeah, I was just gonna add, if we have something printed, like adding also like, you know, the work with like donating masks could be like a good thing.
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
have. And also like just like if like a future event like the tree planting, just to get it in someone's mind.
Yeah.
There are things in the future that we're doing too.
Yeah, and there's, you know, there's several different options for like an asset, as it were, you know, whether it's like a rec card or a flyer or like a little postcard size, and the city has templates that we use for that kind of stuff. So it's pretty straightforward. We would just need to get the content developed pretty soon so that, you know, if we're not going to use something like that we already have and just updating it.
Right.
I know that the materials that we have on file haven't been touched in a couple of years because we haven't done anything in person. So, but anyway, but yes, I'm super happy to help with that process. I know Miles, you know, the other thing too is you're only one of 2 NACs meeting this month. So Miles has a little bit of extra time.
Oh.
So anyway, no, he has so many other projects, but also he would be happy to help. And also I'll be there Friday night. I'll be helping with the night market, but if you want to come say hi, I'll be there.
I was going to also, Maria let me know that they're looking for other volunteers as well. So if you don't want to schlep for the NAC, you can always just go and help out Maria, and that, I mean, we're Brian, I appreciate you hanging on for some more of the minutiae here. And if you know anybody who's looking for volunteer opportunities and wants to jump into the community, they are looking for volunteers at the to help out with the night market.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
For any of the printed material too, one of the things that I think is really important, and I don't know why I forgot this, like, let's not have it be a victory lap for the things that we've done and how amazing we are. Let's keep the focus on why. Like, why should you give a crap about Central NAC, right? It's because this is a government, a funded government organization, right? That we can make positive change in the community. We just need people there to do, like I think of the who, what, where, when, why. Like the why should be front and center. It should be gigantic. Like why you should care, right? Why, and especially the Beaverton night market. It's targeted at a lot of communities that don't show up to these meetings.
Exactly.
And we should probably think about that message to them. Like, why should this matter to you? And I don't know the answer to that,
right?
Because everybody has a different why. But I think if we can make that really front and center, big on the printed material, I think then it's definitely a worthwhile investment on our part.
Yeah, I mean the kind of in drafting material for this, the kind of the two statements that I wanted to put out there is, what is the CBNAC, as in and what have we done, and there's definitely a way to present that is the and why should you care? I mean that's the motivation.
Yeah.
So.
And how you can do these things too.
Right. And we need your help.
Yeah, I don't want you to just show up to a meeting, right? Like we don't want you to just show up to a meeting. We want you to
we want your help. We want your participation, your
ideas,
your experience,
your stories, all of that sort of thing. So,
okay, so let's get a call to action in there.
If there's room, it might be worth highlighting the subcommittees. I might not be interested in knowing about what developments are happening, but if I were to get this card, I would be like, oh, there's a sustainability subcommittee. That sounds cool. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who would be activated by the arts subcommittee. So
yeah, I mean that's also part of the whatever kind of spiel that if there are other people that might join us, that's the opportunity to discuss in person. That there's that there's, and I'll try and find a way to stress that that the neighborhood association committee is, we're trying to make it more than just the monthly meeting. It's more than that, and we need the community to help build that. We need that. And there are ways to participate in that without coming to the a Zoom meeting every month. In fact, that's probably the least important part. So great. Well, I'll draft some stuff, and I may send some ideas out to the board to see if you've got any feedback or what. But we'll try and Franziska, I'll discuss with you more in particular, but probably have something done before the end of the week in order to have the print. Now, the thing that I know that really motivates people to go to outreach booths is this cool slap bracelets, because everybody wants a cool slap bracelet. I know that it's too late for that, but I'm just saying, the future, slap bracelets, that's where it's at. Seriously, everybody wants, like, you go to the library booth, everybody wants the slap. Anyway, I don't know. That's events. That's what I have. Is there anything from arts? No?
No, nothing new from arts, but I wrote it in the chat, but I'm happy to help with developing materials or reviewing materials for the booth. I do a lot of outreach booths, so I'm happy to help with that.
Cool. And sustainability?
I don't think we have anything, but I do have baby trees that we can give away if we do get a spot at that the winter
okay, at the
farmers market to help promote
that's
tree planting. We can also give away some trees that I have on the side of the house right now.
Yeah, if there should be space for that. Now, I will say, so it is. I really do appreciate, Kevin. I will say the ability to share your table and tent. That was one of the things that came up with the farmers market, was that they're happy to give you the space, but they do not have materials. So for the future, I don't know if it's something that I know that it's kind of had come up before. For the tree planting event, there was a discussion to use some of Highland's materials. But in the next couple of months, I don't know if it's going to be worthwhile to get our own, for example, 10 by 10 pop-up with branding on it, and or just a folding table, or some sort of anything else for that's for our use. Doesn't have to be decided right now, but it's just a.
Thom, I'll check in about that really quick. I do think that's a good idea to get some of our branded stuff. It doesn't have to be a tent, because people will loan us tents. Like, I'm happy for the BDA to let the NAC use our tents or something like that. But like table runners or the little poster things that stand up on tables or stand next to tables, like some of those things are great. Rachel, how many trees do you have?
At this time, I think 13 are alive. I think I lost 2, but 13 made it so far.
Okay, well, I might reach out to you through the BDA for some trees in downtown, but we'll see.
They're for what it's worth, they're Doug firs, so they're not great for like street trees. But if someone wants to plant what will become a giant Doug fir, that sounds awesome.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Do yourself a favor and plant like 3 or 4 of them together. So they don't blow up. Okay, well, great. We'll move into visitor comments, announcements, concerns. Only 40 minutes after the fact. Anybody have anything that hasn't been addressed in the meeting so far? Okay, well, that's the case. We are adjourned until the second week of September.
Everyone, please stay safe. My neighbor, who is fully vaccinated, and a healthcare worker, came down with COVID last week, and is still really, really, really sick, and is like young, is like 40 years old and struggling. This Rachel is behind us, so you know them. And on Wednesday of last week, we texted to check in and just asked how they were doing. In 0 to 10, he was like, 10 is the worst day of my life. He's like, I'm at a 9.5 now. So it's, please take it very seriously and just be careful, because it's pretty scary out there.
Noted. Well, stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe. We'll see you guys next month.
See, and if anybody